Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Melffy deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this deck for you guys because this deck is a really awesome deck that basically summons some of the cutest cards in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And even plays one of the most awesome boss monsters in the entire game as well, which is really cool in this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Puppy. So all of your monsters that are Melffys have the same effect, that if your opponent normal or special summons a monster, except during the damage step, or if your opponent would target this monster for an attack, you can return this card to your hand and then get a special effect. All of them also share the particular ability that during the end phase, you can special summon them from your hand, but you can only special summon one each of them. So the unique effect of Puppy has the ability that if this card is returned to your hand, then you get to special summon a level 2 or lower beast monster from your deck, except another copy of itself. We then played 3 copies of Caddy. Caddy is also really good. I love actually drawing into this card. This is my favorite one in the entire deck because it has the ability that if this card is returned to the hand, then you get to add any beast monster from your deck to your hand, which is an awesome effect. We then play a single copy of Finny. Finny also has a very unique effect that if this card is returned to your hand, then you can special summon any beast monster from your hand, which is an awesome effect as well. And then 1 copy of Pony. Pony also has a really good effect in this deck too, that'll let you add 1 level 2 or lower beast monster from your graveyard to your hand, which is awesome to be able to just re-add them back. We then played 2 copies of Mystical Beast of the Forest, the Bunny. This card is really good because you basically special summon this card off your copy of Puppy, because when Puppy returns to hand, you'll get to special summon a beast monster. This card will special summon itself to your side of the field, and then you can pop a card on the field, which is really good in this deck. We played 2 copies of Velfon. Velfon is also really good because you can discard a card, target a level 2 beast monster in the graveyard, and special summon it in attack position or face down defense position, but you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. You can only use this effect of this card once per turn, but it is a level 2 tuner, which is very helpful for this deck. We then play 3 copies of the fabled Cerberus. Cerberus is a awesome card in this deck because you play a really nice tech card in this deck. It is a level 2 tuner monster, which helps out a lot. And you can actually go into a card called the Fabled Unicorn, which is a awesome card to actually go into in this deck, which we'll get into in a little bit, because this card is a 2-star beast tuner, and Fabled Unicorn is a 4-star. You just use any of your monsters that's not a tuner, plus this card to go into that card, which is awesome. We then play 3 copies of Nimble Beaver. Nimble Beaver is probably one of the better normal summons in this deck, because when it's normal summon, you can special summon a level 3 or lower Nimble monster from your deck or graveyard to be able to make it an instant rank 2 in this deck, which is really good. I really like the utility of using this card as a normal summon to grab a Nimble Beaver from the deck. We then play a single copy of Mind Mole. You guys might be wondering, why are we playing a level 3 in this deck? Well, Mind Mole actually has a very awesome effect that if this card is sent to the graveyard by for the summon of a beast monster, then you get to draw a card, which is pretty cool to be able to just draw a card. But it's also very helpful as well with the Velfon, because if you synchro these 2 together, you can actually make a Naturia Beast, which for the next card, there's a 1-card Naturia Beast in this deck in the form of Rescue Cat. Rescue Cat, upon normal summon, you can send this card to the graveyard, and then you get to special summon 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters from the deck. That's just as long as this card is face up on the field. You can send it at any time, which is really good to be able to just immediately summon a Velfon and a Mind Mole to be able to go into a Naturia Beast, and then you get to draw a card as well, which is very good in this deck. For the last beast monster we're playing in this deck, we're playing 3 copies of Alpha, the Master of Beasts. Alpha is really good in this deck because Alpha can special summon it to your side of the field as long as you control less attack points than your opponent. So basically, if your opponent has 3 blue eyes and they have 9,000 total attack points on the field and you have 0, you can special summon all 3 of your Alphas to your side of the field to match the blue eyes, which is really awesome. It also has the ability that you can target any number of beast Beast Warrior or Winged Beast monsters you control, return them to the hand, and then if you do, you get to bounce the same number of monsters same number of cards to your opponent's hand, which is really good, but you cannot attack directly with Alpha the Master Beast the turn you activate that effect, because sometimes you might pop all their back row and bounce it back to the hand, but then re-special summon the Alpha, and they don't want you to attack directly with a monster after you bounce their whole field, because that'd be a little overpowered. So that's it for the beast monsters. Let's get into the tech monsters and the hand traps. So for the tech monster, that is our awesome boss monster, we're going to lay it face down, guys, and you guys are going to guess it is 2 monsters. It's the same monster, but it's 2 of the same monster that we're playing in this deck. So comment down below what you think this card is. It's a awesome tech monster in this deck that you probably wouldn't be expecting in this deck. It's really cool, and it's really awesome. So definitely don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we're going to reveal it in 3, 2, 1. So here we go. Here's what the tech monster is, and don't forget to comment down below and guess what it is, because if you get it right, I'll give you a heart. So here we go. It's actually going to be Obelisk the Tormentor. So in this cute, adorable deck, you're going to summon this. I just think it's hilarious to actually summon this card. It's really awesome to be able to tribute summon into an Obelisk the Tormentor in this deck. I play 2 because I want to see it. I don't play so many of them that if I summon Alpha, I'm not going to be able to summon it, because if you see multiple copies of Alpha in the hand and you see multiple copies of this in the hand, you're not going to have so much like utility in this deck. But if you activate Obedient School and you give yourself the 3 monsters, you can't special summon beasts, but you can still normal summon. So you can still normal summon this card out, which is kind of funny. This card basically has the ability that requires 3 tributes to normal summon. It cannot be normal summon, or it cannot be normal set. This card's normal summon cannot be negated, and when normal summon, this card's and card's effects cannot be activated, and neither player can target this card with card effects either. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was special summoned, send it to the graveyard, and then you contribute 2 monsters, destroy all other monsters your opponent controls, and this card cannot declare an attack the turn you activate this effect. This card is awesome to be able to play in this deck as a 2 of. So for the hand traps, we're just going to be playing 3 in the form of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good to be able to play in this deck, to be able to just stop your opponent from touching the deck, and it's really, really good to play as a 3 of in this particular build. So that's it for the monsters, guys. It's a 30 card monster deck. That is a lot of monsters, so we're going to get into the spells, which we only play, I believe, 8. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a Monster Reborn, which is really helpful as an extender in this deck. We're going to be playing a single copy of Ayers Rock Sunrise, which is essentially another Monster Reborn for beast monsters, and then a Melffy tag. Tag is really good because you get to target a Melffy in your graveyard and special summon it back, which is, again, kind of a Monster Reborn. We then play a single copy of Feather Duster because it eliminates back row, which is really good. 1 copy of Scapegoats because it's going to give you multiple earth monsters on the field to link away. And plus, it's really good in this deck to then activate this card, throw them on your side of the field, and then link them away, or not link them away. Yeah, link them away, not tribute them, because they can't be tributed. They can be linked away to summon out a awesome link monster, like summoning out a copy of your IP Masquerena and Mrs. Radiant to your side of the field to then go into some really good plays later on. So this card is really good in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Obedient School. Obedient School is really awesome in this particular build because Obedient School can basically throw itself on your side of the field, that if you control no monsters, then you can special summon 3 beast monsters that are level 2 or lower. Beast effect monsters with different names from your deck, but their effects are negated, and also they're destroyed during the end phase. And for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon except beast monsters. So this card is really, really good to summon out an Obelisk to your side of the field, and it's really, really good to just immediately activate this card and link plays and synchro plays and all sorts of really good plays in this deck with this card. This card is really, really important for this deck. This card is the reason this deck works so well. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So I'm just playing 2 traps in this deck, and it's 2 copies of Storming Mirror Force. These are basically just here because if your opponent tries to attack into you, yes, they bounce back to your hand, but sometimes you'll be left a little bit vulnerable in this deck, and your opponent will try and attack you directly afterwards, or you might have 1 beast monster left on the field that you don't want your opponent to get rid of, so you'll have the Storming Mirror Forces to kind of stop your opponent from dealing you any damage, and it gets rid of their monsters on the field because you just need to get rid of those cards. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Forest. Forest is really good because it has the ability that it's basically the searcher that you detach a material from this card, add a Melffy card from your deck to your hand. And if another face-up Melffy monster you control is returned to your hand, then you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. It can't attack, and it has its effects negated while it's face-up on the field. You only affect this card once per turn. So basically when they summon, you can just use this card to negate, which is really helpful. 1 copy of Joyous. Joyous is the one I summon the most infrequently. This card's kind of neat because you get to detach a material from this card, and your Melffy monsters can attack your opponent directly this turn. And then during your opponent's turn, you can target a Beast XZ monster you control, return that card to the extra deck, and then you get to special summon level 2 or lower beast monsters from your graveyard up to the number of materials that monster had, which is pretty good. We then play a single copy of Mommy. Mommy is kind of neat because it has the ability that depending on the amount of materials it has on it, it gains different effects, which is kind of neat. If it has 3, it can't be destroyed by battle. If it has 4, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. If it has 5, when an attack is declared involving this card, an attack position monster, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack position monster's attack, which can be a lot of damage. It can be a lot of damage. And then also, once per turn, you can attach a beast monster in your hand or face from your field to this card as a material to be able to get it to those awesome effects. We then played 2 copies of number 64, Ronin Raccoon. Ronin Raccoon is really good because you can basically detach a material and it will match the exact attack points of the highest monster on the field, which if it's Obelisk, you're summoning a token with 4,000 attack, which is awesome. Also has the ability that while this card's on the field, while you control another beast type monster, your opponent cannot destroy this card by battle or by card effects, which is pretty cool just to be able to not be able to destroy this card by battle by card effects. Play a single copy of Sky Cavalry. Sky Cavalry is really helpful because at the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can detach a material from this card, return that opponent's monster to the hand. And also, this card cannot be destroyed by battle while it has XZ materials. This card can live through a lot, and it's really good to help you bounce stuff. 1 copy of Double A Zeus. Double A Zeus is really good because you're playing all these XZ monsters, especially ones that can't be destroyed by battle. So if they're involved in battle, you just slam a Zeus on the field, which is pretty good. 1 copy of Naturia Beast. Naturia Beast negates spells, which is super helpful for this deck. I really like playing the Naturia Beast as one of, because it can totally stop certain decks. Like if you're going up against Sky Striker, you're pretty much going to turn their entire turn off, because basically you're just going to summon this card to your side of the field and just go, hey, I'm going to negate every single spell card against you, which is really good. Like this card is probably one of the best cards in the entire extra deck, and you can basically go into a copy of Rescue Cat, special summon Mind Mole to your field, and then immediately summon to your side of the field the copy of the Velfon, and then go Velfon Mind Mole into this card, which is super helpful. We're then going to be playing a single copy of the Fabled Unicorn. Fabled Unicorn is while your opponent and you have the same number of cards in your hand, you're going to be able to negate the effects of all monster spells and traps that your opponent activates, which is pretty cool. And you destroy the monster spell or trap that they activated. So this card is really ridiculous in this deck because basically you're going to stop everything that your opponent does as long as they match. And usually you're going to get at least 1 negate off this card when you summon it, and because at some point you're going to mess them up mid-combo because they're going to have the same number of cards, and you can kind of match it as well with your copies of your monsters like your Melffy that will bounce back to hand, like Puppy and Caddy will just bounce back to hand, so you can kind of get some really unique plays in this deck. We're then going to be playing a single copy of Herald of the Arclight. Herald of the Arclight is a very good card in this deck because it has the ability that it just negates anything. It's very easy to summon in this deck because you just basically use 2 monsters, like a copy of the Cerberus plus a level 2 monster, or Velfon plus any other monster. We then play a single copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. Avermax is really good too because Avermax basically, when this card is link summoned, you can basically summon this card off a Scapegoats, which is really good. It has the ability that when this card is link summoned on your side of the field, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects, and also they cannot target other monsters for attacks, which is really good to protect a lot of your monsters with this card. And if you summon it with IP Masquerena, it also can't be destroyed by card effects, so this card's pretty invincible against your opponent. If it battles a special summoned monster, then it also gains attack equal to that monster's attack, which is just ridiculously good. And if this link summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, then you can shuffle 1 card on the field into the deck. So basically this card is going to give you so many pluses that's ridiculous, and it's a really hard card to out. We then play a single copy of Unicorn just to balance stuff, which is Nightmare Unicorn, because we also play Fabled Unicorn. And then we play a single copy of Mrs. Radiant, because Mrs. Radiant is really easy to summon in the deck because it's a beast monster, and it boosts all your monster up by 500. The reason I play this is because it works really well with Scapegoats to just summon this card with the copy of the Scapegoats. And then we play a single copy of IP Masquerena because the IP Masquerena is extremely easy to summon, and you really do need to play the IP and the copy of Mrs. Radiant with the Scapegoats because basically they are the easiest ways to actually link into an Avermax in this particular deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really awesome, pure-ish build of Melffy. And this deck is super, super budget to be able to play besides Zeus, which you can drop the Zeus if you want to for like a Boral Sword. You don't have to play this card. But other than that, the deck is super, super cheap to actually be able to play. So anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, because this deck is super fun to be able to play with, and I highly recommend that if you've not played with this deck, you definitely should. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.